change continues to be a global concern. In fact, one of the world's largest food and beverage companies is set to make Gauteng its hub for sustainable food manufacturing. Nestle is launching its molecular recycling initiative, Infrasalience, which converts carbon emissions into water and food-grade bicarbonate of soda. So for more on this, we're joined now by the organization St. Francis Tutlang. St. Thank you so much for your time this morning. A very good morning to you. It's seen as one of the first of its kind here, being able to actually talk about how is it that we can make sustainable food manufacturing a reality in the South African context. Talk to us a little bit about the initiative.
Thank you very much, Faith, and good morning to your viewers. So Project Infrasalience is really an industry first and one of the flagship initiatives and projects within the Nestle Sustainability Initiative, which is anchored by three key pillars. Rethink, where we're looking to rethink our business operations and models. Reduce, where we're looking to reduce the impact that we have on the environment. And repurpose, particularly how we're looking at applying circular economy principles in our organization and also the entire value chain. And this particular project really speaks to all three of those pillars. More specifically, what we're doing, as you've mentioned, is we are taking flue gas emissions from our boiler house in Babalegi. This is where we produce a very much loved South African product, Nestle Primora, and using green technology, particularly green chemistry, artificial intelligence, we are then capturing these emissions using the industrial wastewater from our plants to essentially produce a green product in the form of sodium bicarbonate, which practically is, well known as baking soda. And we do this through a partnership with the emissions capture company who have developed this proprietary technology. So in a nutshell, we are then taking waste, using that as an input into a new process to produce a green sustainable product.
It's very interesting because it speaks about white box technology. Can you just expound a little bit further? I mean, as you're speaking about exactly how this will actually be captured, but white box technology as well is a first also on the continent to be used, especially when it comes to this particular agenda, and that is around how to actually have sustainable, also renewable kind of ways of making food.
Yes, indeed. So white box is this proprietary technology that has been developed, really leveraging artificial intelligence. So technology really playing its part in terms of how we're finding new innovative solutions in the manufacturing space. Also then using chemistry, but specifically green chemistry, which really looks at less hazardous, ways in which we can produce and use the chemistry as a field, and then ultimately then recycling. So really finding ways to recycle and ultimately, applying the circular economy principles within this process.
How can this sustainability kind of model actually contribute to employment opportunities as well? Because, I mean, we're trying something that has never been done on the continent. And, of course, Nestle is like spearheading that as a pilot project. And then it's going to be reaching South Africa as well as the continent. But in terms of just being able to present with those opportunities to actually be involved and engaged from an employment perspective, how do we do so? Are there opportunities within this?
Absolutely. So with this pilot project, we have been able to create 15 additional jobs. And as we look at further expansion of this project, not only within the Babalegi site, but also across all our different sites, particularly where we use boiler houses, it presents an opportunity to create even further jobs. So we're looking particularly at Babalegi at an additional 30 jobs. But the indirect jobs that could be created when we look at the expansion potential of this project are around the area of 300 additional jobs, so indirect jobs as a result of expansion. So it really is promising in terms of, looking at new spaces in terms of manufacturing, again, leveraging the innovation that is much needed within the space. Not only within food manufacturing, but across the board as we look at circular economy as a new business opportunity, but not only as a business opportunity, as an opportunity to look at how we really tackle the climate challenge head on, particularly looking at ways in which we can further that and accelerate it.
Yeah. Speaking about tackling the climate conversation head on, I mean, when it comes to Sustainability Month, I believe that the theme indeed was around Only One Earth. And Only One Earth speaks significantly to how it cannot just be, corporate, it cannot just be big business, but it also needs to be filtered down to community interventions, as well as the demand from communities to actually ensure that the earth is preserved, because we only have one earth. Speak to us a little bit about how this is hopefully now going to encourage other businesses to do likewise when it comes to being able to interrogate how is it that we can do business but with the environment in mind.
So I think partnership and collaboration play a fundamental role in that. And when we talk about collaboration and partnership, it's not only within the private sector or the private sector with government. It really is bringing civil society along on the journey. So projects like these really demonstrate leadership and also opportunity. So not only opportunity for the private sector, but many different startups and entrepreneurs to really then look at how they contribute and are part of the value chain. So within that particular journey, it is important that education is a way in which we bring our communities along. So not only explaining what it is that we're doing, how this particular project benefits them, not only through employment opportunities, but also the environmental impact, positive impact that is. And so there's an appreciation, and we then encourage communities to also play their part in ways in which they can, particularly within their areas of influence. So recycling within the home, looking at how they are using water more efficiently, as we are in a water scarce part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just taking a look at exactly how much and how many tons when it comes to carbon emissions has been preserved as a result of, this technology, and it's machine learning technology. About 5,500 tons of carbon has been prevented from escaping into the atmosphere. It speaks significantly also to around how we need to be more deliberate and intentional if we are going to truly have that conversation, as you say, regarding climate change and bring in the educational component. Just talk to us a little bit about the technology in itself, though. Is it expensive to be able to implement this? I mean, 5,500 tons of carbon escaping means that this is a detailed piece of technology.
It is. So the technology in itself, again, especially with startup technologies, we're trialing that. We've now proven the technology. And so when scale is not necessarily available, of course, the startup investment in scaling that technology then becomes an on cost. So you spoke about being intentional. We have to then put our money where our mouth is and really make sure that we are being intentional, we're being aggressive in how we're looking to really tackle this head on. So the technology in itself has now been proven, which is fantastic. We've been very pleased with the results, as you've mentioned, around 5,500 tons per annum. And then there's also water savings as well. So forecasted figures are at the region of 2.5 million liters of water saved as well and recycled. So we have to look for those opportunities, and those opportunities, if you don't invest behind them, won't be fully realized.
And speaking about investing in these kinds of opportunities, when it comes to issues of food security, especially of recent, these conversations have been quite top of mind when it comes to governments really around the world, especially around how is it that we can sustain our food, but also have security around our food. Food security is a big conversation right now. How do we see this technology actually contributing to the conversation of food security in itself? Does it make the food manufacturing component actually more expensive and therefore, higher food prices and the like, and filtering down to the consumer? Or does it actually make it much more, affordable and much more even sustainable in the long term? How do you navigate that space?
So, food security indeed is a massive challenge. And one of the ways in which we approach food security or insecurity is really looking at the entire food system. So we need to be at the forefront of helping develop thriving and resilient food systems. And one of the ways in which, we look at that is through regenerative agriculture. So really looking upstream, downstream, and we see the opportunity really in the agricultural space. So of course, when we look at food security, climate change is almost interconnected to that. You cannot divorce the two. And so we see this as, part of a piece of the puzzle in a broader, much more complex system. And so, there are many ways in which we can approach this challenge. And so climate change being one, but also then looking at regenerative agriculture as a way in which we can really ensure that the very heart of the food manufacturing and the food industry, which is really the agricultural supply chain, is well preserved, well taken care of, and more importantly, that we're looking to regenerate it.
We'll leave it there for this morning. Thank you very much for your time, St. Francis Tuhlang, there, just giving us the latest in terms of how do we make sustainable as well as more responsible food manufacturing, really in light of this new technology there that is out. Project Infrasalience. How exciting is that?